This episode of the Long Run Podcast is sponsored by Skechers.
There we are. As I've seen in the comments, Oggy, oi, 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 everyone. It is Friday. Yes, happy Friday, everyone. Welcome to this evening's episode of the Long Run live stream and podcast brought to you by the Fordy Runs running community and, of course, our sponsors at Skechers. So feel free, guys, to check out all of their new kit and their trainers. Just head to skechers.co.uk. And of course, we've got our 10% off using the code 40runs at startfitness.co.uk. So go and check that out as well. But this evening, we are obviously joined by the gorgeous Sabrina, WILKO, good old Hayden is smaller in real life, and myself, Bettina Blake.
You're not meant to mention that just in case he listens to the pod but doesn't watch it. You know, you probably dropped me in it.
I think he kind of expects something will come out of the pod now.
So. He was nervous. He was really nervous, even everyone. He was really nervous at the live show. We'll come on to it, but he was bricking that I'd been up to no good. But I was very kind to him when I had been.
Yeah, and I think he was pleasantly surprised at how nice we were. He was petrified though. He wasn't just a bit worried. You could see the look on his face. The closer it got, he was like, what is he up to? What has he done?
He wore his alpha flies, so he didn't look as small compared to everybody else up on stage.
I must say, it was his birthday, so the folks got him a lovely T-shirt. It was a beautiful colour. I really like that one. Can I get one myself?
Yeah, I don't know what colour it was, but I could find out.
Yeah, I'm sort of colourblind, so whenever I describe it as any colour is any colour, people just say, no, it's not. That's not that.
It was like
I think it's called jade.
Sort of colour. It really did look nice, actually.
Yeah, he looked great in it, obviously.
Yeah, just small and old. Anyway, carry on, Gisela. Sorry.
No, just going to say, well, welcome, guys. Obviously, if you are listening to this live and direct, hello and welcome. But if you are planning to listen to this or back on the podcast or on your runs or you're hearing this in the future, you can listen to this on all of our platforms, guys. Apple, Spotify, Google, Amazon, the whole shebang. We are there. So suppose we best get into it because I feel like we've got so much to cover.
I've got a list.
We've got a list. Does that not surprise anyone?
I've got a list. This is the thing, you know. You've got to embrace your downfalls.
I can't feel like...
I'm going to start. Admin, am I allowed to start?
Go on.
No, because I actually want to start with some thank yous. I thought it'd be quite nice. But first, welcome everyone. So if you're listening to this, watching this live, get in the chat, okay? We're going to be talking about what to do between races. I appreciate that some of you may have been training for Great North Run or a half marathon, or even a marathon if your name's PB Petra. And then you're going, Christ, now what am I going to do? Or maybe you're going to be like me and some of the team that which you're going to discuss, where you've come out of the Great North Run or another race and you're going to go, well, in 2 or 3 weeks' time, I've going to got the whatever Chicago Marathon or I've got a 10K race, okay? Because it came up at the live show. So that's kind of what we're going to get into in a little bit once we've done the usual sort of catch-ups and sort of digest some of Great North Run. So are you ready for the thank yous, okay?
Yeah, let's go.
I thought it was important to do this because we had the most exceptional weekend and it was exceptional for certain people and we need to thank them publicly, which I think is right to do. So firstly, I want to start by thanking the guys at Start Fitness because they did an incredible job setting all that up, particularly putting all the chairs out at the live pod, Heroes. Yeah. They've done a cracking job. And if you've not seen them on Instagram, they've done a couple of really good reels as well about the event. I thought their content's been really good on that. So thanks to those guys. Go over to startfitness.co.uk. Give a shout out to the guys at Brooks for supporting that event as well. If you've got no idea what we're talking about, we did a big shakeout run. First ever one, guys. Just let you know, that was the first ever shakeout run at the Great North Run. Why no one else has thought about it, I don't know. I've got to give a shout out to the guys at Skechers for sponsoring this podcast. Obviously, they sponsored the live podcast as well, which is up and you can listen to that. I've got to give a thank you to all the volunteers, all the run leaders, everybody, even the people who stayed behind and kept an eye on stuff. There, I just wanted to thank them all because we couldn't have done it without them. I want to thank everybody who came. because again, we can't do it without everybody. We had some lovely comments. I was running the Great Northern Run. People come up to me and go, I love the shakeout. They run past me. I love the shakeout. I didn't know who the hell they were. I think that was it. Oh, yeah. So that's all the thank yous done. I've got to we put some stuff out today, media stuff. I'm doing all the plugs, by the way. I'm getting them in early. So just skip this bit if you're listening to this on the podcast, because we put a thing out about all the benefits of being part of the club. We don't publicize it enough. We don't spend any money on advertising because we're a club, right? So, but check it out. All the benefits of being a Fordy Runs. It's totally free. There's no barrier to entry. We do not charge you to be a member of this club. If you want to pay for affiliation, crack on. And I think that's one of the reasons why we are the largest running club in the UK for everyday runners, because there's no barrier to entry. Okay, so you get access to all the stuff. You can crack on with that. Next up, merch. Hayden told me off because apparently we don't promote the merch. But then we don't do any advertising of this podcast because we can't be bothered. And we'd rather you do it for us. So if you're listening to this podcast, you don't have to buy the merch. We don't care. Just tell somebody about it. It's interesting this came up. And the only reason this came up is because he was listening to this and another, let's say, media-backed podcast, running podcast, had an advert in front of this, which is great. So they're spending money on ads. Well, I'm not going to say which one because I'll get in trouble from admin.
Hold on. Someone else. Another running something.
Yeah. They're
they've got adverts on the thing.
Don't worry about it. Yeah. It's adverts. So, like, there's many other running podcasts out there. Most of them in the top of the charts that we just sit behind nicely are all media companies, right? We don't care about that. But they spend money on adverts. We spend none. So Hayden told me that I have to tell everybody the one way you can help is buy the merch and wear it, and then you can do the advertising for us. So that only not only feeds Speedgoat, but also helps promote the pod. And what was the other thing? There was the other bit I had to tell everybody. I've generally got a list that I got given. Big news coming Tuesday for Fordy Runs. It's not the big news that I'm not allowed to talk about until the end of the year.
Yeah.
We're launching something on Tuesday that's kind of cool. Hayden sort of alluded to it in the Facebook group. If you're not in that, join. There will be some other big news between that and the big thing at the end of the year, which is a game changer, but we can't talk about that either. But there is something cool that we're doing on Tuesday. Right, I think that's it. I probably bored everybody to death, but I think it's important to do the thank yous because it was an amazing event and it genuinely doesn't happen without everybody else. And I wanted to take that time to thank everybody.
Great. I'd like to ask Sabrina a question because I have to admit that I didn't think you were going to like the Great North Run. And I did say to a few people, because I think it ticked a lot of boxes that pain in the neck to get away, lots of dual carriageway, lots of uphill and things like that. And I did say to a few,
sounds like Cambridge.
Exactly. Well, I mean, so, and I know you came out, you were in the video saying what a great time you had. And you've been banging on about it constantly about what a brilliant weekend you've had. Tell us about your weekend and why did you think it was different that you enjoyed it so much?
All right. I think there's two things in this. There's kind of two questions. One was the weekend was brilliant. I think Saturday, that shakeout run and just getting together with everyone was phenomenal. If I'm honest, it still blows my mind that people actually want to listen to what we've got to say or find us amusing in any way whatsoever. I'm a bit like,
especially when we start playing the Bruise Brothers at the start of the show.
Yeah, what was going on there?
And nobody caught on the fact that there was country music being played very loudly at the end. But carry on.
So the fact that people turn up and that Chris and Chris started it, but the community has built something where people feel like they can turn up and they can run with people they've never met, and that they don't feel like there's a barrier and they feel like included, I think was phenomenal. So just to see all of those people there, take all of those people out. I was lucky enough to kind of lead one of the groups with the dream team, Rob, Carolyn and Karen Lumley. And it was just lovely, just seeing people chat and talk. So that just kind of started the weekend on a bit of a high, right? Because you're just like, oh my God, all of these people. And it's kind of, we've spoken about it a lot, my anxiousness about starting races, being in those places and not feeling good. But suddenly, and when it was hot, and I had this thought actually, it was quite scary. You see people going down. And I just had this thought, which was, do you know what? I don't feel alone. For the first time at a race, I didn't feel alone because I just thought whether it was the boys I was in the pen with or the hundreds of people from this club, God forbid something was to happen, or if you were struggling a bit and you're taking a bit of a walking break or whatever it is, or even if you're just kind of plodding along, there were so many people that just pass by and just go, hi. And like, it makes me laugh that people call me admin because I'm like, and I do turn around. But it was that feeling of going, God, we're not alone out here. There are hundreds of us. Nobody's ever alone, no matter what happens. If you're having a great time, if you're finding it tough, whatever. I knew it was going to be tough. I knew it was uphill. It is, for anyone thinking of doing it, it is 11.6 miles of uphill.
That's someone who's done their own work.
Oh, yeah. Because I looked at my watch when I got to the top of that hill and thought, oh, my God. But it's just brilliant. It's got the atmosphere of London. The roads are lined. I've not seen, other than London Marathon, I've seen nothing like it. You're talking like 3, 4, 5, 6 people deep in places. People are going mad. The hospitality, the kindness of local people. It wasn't like one bit and then kind of 400 meters down the road, there's somebody else. Every other person was giving out oranges, ice poles, water, sweets, because they knew how hot and they knew how tough it was. But that's for a mile, 1 and a bit when you get to the bridge, all the way to mile 13.1. There was nothing like it. And everyone was just going mad. I don't remember there being a quiet spot.
There ain't.
You know, and you're like, where's the quiet spot? Because in every run, there's that bit that gets a bit tough and it's a bit quiet. I didn't notice I was on a dual carriageway. I had no idea, if I'm honest. Other than
you would have been running on the moon, or you wouldn't have known any different. And the thing is, you're right. It is literally the minute you, even in the pens, you feel like you're being cheered all the way to the finish. And the people of the Northeast, the people of Newcastle, South Shields, bless them, they come out with and they spent their own money to provide runners with stuff. And I've seen it this year. It was hot, so they were out there with their ice pops. I've seen other years they're giving out all sorts of stuff. They're giving out free beer along the way. They're giving out all sorts of stuff from the kindness of their heart and cheering the 60,000 runners on all the way up. And like Abby said, there's no, even in the underpasses, because of the Oggies, it's not quiet. I would sit here now, and I'm telling you, if you're listening to this and you're not in the UK, you need to get your butt onto a plane and come over and do the Great North Run. Forget London Marathon, right? Get your backside onto a plane, go to London and go up to Newcastle, because there's a flight up to Newcastle. Get on the train and take part in this event. This will blow your mind and it will make every other race you've done feel insignificant. It is unbelievable.
Yeah, I honestly can't describe it. I got to the end and I just thought, I can't believe I've been lucky enough to run that. I can't believe that I've just experienced that. It was mind blowing. And I think it is more inclusive than London Marathon in a lot of ways. The fact that they do the 5K on the Friday, they do the kids run on the Saturday, and you see kids walking around the city centre with their numbers, like so proud. They set off, we were in one of the early waves on Sunday, but they had some of the charity people walking in their big outfits. They had set them off nice and early so that they could get out there. And they were, honestly, I just thought the whole thing, other than the start time, which I think is too late, the rest of it is brilliant.
I think what I think about it is it's the nearest you get to feeling like a superstar, whether you're playing at Wembley or walking down a red carpet or something like that. The noise and everybody cheering for you as well. You know that you're turning around, and I mean, I was fortunate as well to be just running along when the Red Arrows were doing their display down the seafront, which was pretty special. It's an amazing one. So, Jatila, you've got to come.
I know. I'm 100% coming next year. I had it was FOMO at another level. Like, I just didn't even think last year. I've never thought to go up because I've obviously been up to Manchester and done Manchester and things. It was all right. It was nothing special in terms of like the crowds and things like that. So next year.
I didn't, if I'm honest, it wasn't on my list. I was a bit like, why do I need to go all the way to Newcastle to run a half? And then I remember last year the boys came back, Simon and Toby in particular, and went, no, it's worth doing. So I was like, all right, well, let's go then. Let's get involved. And I'm honestly so glad I did. It's not a course you're going to go and run for me, a PB on. It's not something you go, I'm going to put a time down. You go there to enjoy it. You go for the fun. In fact, I'd probably be happy if it took me even longer next year because I'd just be enjoying myself.
Yeah. I mean, I did it 10 minutes quicker than I did last year, and it went really well. There was a lot of, it's a busy race. Like Sabrina said, it's not one for, it was very busy. And like you've said about the start time, the one thing that I would suggest to them is that if they've got in their event guide, if they could just sort of like give a tip to some beginners. Absolutely no problem with people walking or anything like that. But there are people who sort of like walking in the middle of the road and stopping immediately, things like that. If people can be, if they can talk to people and just say, it's great that you're doing it, and if you could just perhaps move to the side of the road if you need to walk, or put your hand up if you need to stop, and then everyone knows what you're doing, and just helps everybody get along.
It is one of the great things about the Great North Run that I think Amy nailed it, that it is so inclusive. It is the race that I remember where everybody's doing it. So you've got people who may be doing their first ever half for charity. There's obviously a lot of money raised through charity there. There's a lot of people who've always wanted to do it because of the history around it. There's a lot of local people who want to do it as well. But it is that one race that is so inclusive because all abilities are taking part, which I think is phenomenal, and it should be applauded. Actually.
Oh, that wasn't a comment on that.
No, I'm not saying that at all. But I agree with you, because like one geezer nearly took me out because he started walking in front of me. But again, you're tired.
But a lot of this is down to the fact that people are inexperienced and they don't do a lot of races. And if and I'm sure if they, they'd have no problem with following some guidelines if they were made aware that the guidelines.
But it's just so inclusive. The whole race is just so inclusive.
Yeah, and that's like you say, that is the beauty of the whole thing.
But I don't understand why. And maybe we should get in touch with their press officer, because I know I've got the people there, and find out what the hell they were thinking about starting at 11 o'clock. What brain buster thought, I've had a brilliant idea. Let's start it even later. I mean, usually with these things, right, they want you off the streets as quickly as you can. It makes no sense to start at 11 o'clock. And you're making the tube busier, or the metro thing, unless they want, which would be a fair argument, they want more money to go into the economy in the morning, which I would understand that if that was their real reason behind it. Be honest and tell us that. But apart from that, I see absolutely no sense in starting at 11 o'clock.
And I mean, particularly, like I was at, I was allocated sort of F, so that's sort of like in the middle of green, but I dropped back to the midday front of pink to run with Brian, my mate who came up with me. And it took 50 minutes so it was 10 to 12 by the time I crossed the start line.
Do you know, I think there was still, if you think about it, you've got 60,000 runners, you're on a 6-lane dual carriageway. Honestly, it's like, and the whole thing's packed, Jatila, just for context, right? You look back and you just can't see for people because you're like, what is going on? 60,000 people, there's still people crossing the line at 12:15, 12:30. So you've got to think it's an hour and a half from when the first person goes over to everyone. That's how many people.
I've been so far back in the queue that you can't hear the gun.
Surely you'd want to have that earlier. I know, obviously, regardless of the weather or anything like that, like given the amount of people that you have at that race, surely it would make sense to start that much earlier.
Yeah, people can, because obviously people stay from sort of like outside the immediate sort of Newcastle area. If they've got the public transport to be able to get in on time, then I don't see the problem with a 9:30, 10 o'clock kickoff at least.
It writes off the whole of Newcastle for literally the whole day, doesn't it?
Well, the whole weekend, where we stopped it for most of it when we were going for a spin round Lees's Park.
Can I just say, Robert Hallam's just put a comment saying 60,000 is a lot more than last year. Do you think there should be a smaller cap on it? No, I don't. I'd get more people involved, because that is the pure brilliance of it, that there are so many places and so many people can get involved, and it's not like you can't do it. They do their best to make sure as many people can take part. I'd make it bigger.
It was actually two things on that. Firstly, no, I don't think they should cap it. They should start it earlier and keep the numbers up. Brilliant. Because then you just keep feeding people through, because the route allows that. It's got the bandwidth to take it, and they do such an amazing job of managing the waves. And secondly, I think actually there was, because it was on the Nissan car, and if Nissan want to sponsor this podcast, just email hello@fordyruns.com. We'll take your money. But I think it was on there. Somebody eagle eye pointed out there was actually 45,000 runners, because you have to remember that there's always a 20% slippage on people turning up.
Right.
So they put that into the numbers. They know that that's the case. It's like the London Marathon, any large sporting event, there is always slippage in terms of people actually not turning up, which is kind of helpful on the train, especially when you're coming up. And I realised that somebody wasn't sitting in the seat, so I thought, you know what, I'll have some of that. So You're welcome. You can get a membership, by the way, for the Great North Run. I've done it this is my 3rd time now.
Yeah, I renewed yesterday.
Get involved in that. They've only got limited numbers of those. It's 70 quid, and you bypass the ballot then, if that's the sort of thing you want to do. Then if you really are keen on doing it, I would 100%, after you finish watching this, because this is an award-winning podcast, then I would get onto whatever their website is, and I would sign up before it sells out, because it's the best way to guarantee your participation. The hotel prices have already gone through the roof, and I would strongly recommend that. So I think we move on, if that's okay with everybody, because we get into the main topic. And this was actually a kind of question that got brought up on the live show. So if you don't know, we did a live version of this, which was the 2nd time of doing it. I think admin, you guys, I think we actually did a slightly better job. I would say it was a bit smoother. Would you say?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I think we performed well in front of another live audience. It was it was a smaller crowd. We're used to doing big crowds, 500 plus.
Beautifully formed, though, weren't they?
Yeah, we did a good job, and we will be back at the National Running Show, by the way, doing another live performance of this award-winning independent podcast. And we will be back doing that. But it's always kind of weird doing it in front of people. You always wonder, is anybody going to turn up? Yeah. Which was amazing when we sold it out in 20 minutes, by the way. That was just phenomenal. We capped it because we had no idea who was coming. So that was amazing to see 20. And we will increase the numbers next year for when we do it again, because we are coming back to do it again. We didn't upset anybody, or admin didn't upset anybody like she did when we went to Amsterdam. But she knows exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, so we're going to be coming back. But you never know, do you? You never know how, because some people like just to sit there and listen, don't they? They do, and when you're doing a Q&A, you don't know when anyone's going to put their hand up. So I thought we probably could have carried on for another hour. What do you reckon?
Oh, we could have gone on. No, there was I think it's just amazing that people turn up, and it's also not the people that we know. Do you know what I mean? It's not the regular faces. So you're like, God, I've never seen you before.
I was a bit. I'm wondering how. We had a guy, didn't we, who said, "I've got to do 150 tomorrow." I'm a bit edgy about it. What do you think? And then we were like, "Oh, don't worry about it. Don't." And I wonder how he got on. So he looked a bit crestfallen when we said it doesn't really matter.
Wilko, did you hear me?
Sorry,
I said he ran 2:01.
Oh, all the good people ran 2:01.
He messaged me. But I think the best moment of the whole thing, Jatila, right? Listen to this. Somebody asked a question on the floor, apart from my music intro and my quiz, by the way, which is, again, another reason why this show is award-winning. When it admin, be fair.
No.
What? Good plug for Sunday's video. Watch the Runners Weekend this weekend, right? Because it's got the storm in it. It's got the aftermath. It's got the shopping. It was just chaos. Anyway, the best moment. So somebody asked us what's our best memory, I think, of the Great North Run, something like that. So these guys come up with some soppy stories. Admin obviously didn't have nothing because she had done it. And then I just see Rob Adams' comment, and he's talking about us doing it on the ground floor so he doesn't have to do steps. Brilliant. But yeah, so someone was talking about it, and they threw it to me and said, "Oh, what's your best memory?" And I told this beautiful story, right? Yeah. The best time ever was when I was running down the seafront at South Shields, and I saw Karen Lumley, who's a Fordy Runs store. She's been with us since day one, right? She was in the original picture of 2018. And it was just the most iconic moment. I just remember feeling like I found my friend, and we crossed the line together, and it was epic. And I said, "Didn't I, Karen?" She went there, she's in the pub. I just did this nice romantic story, right?
Perfect.
Built it really up, and then I threw it to her, and she wasn't even there. She was in the pub. She couldn't be bothered to stay and listen. She just went to the pub. Hero.
Well, she had done a brilliant job on the shakeout run. So
but that's why we love her, because that's Karen all over, and she's in the video on Sunday. So it's a brilliant moment. She's just going, "Yeah, we nailed that. We did the best job." She's just amazing. She again, is everything that is Fordy Runs. We all see. I see her at the races. I don't obviously see it because she lives up north, but when I see her, it's like we haven't been apart. She's just so brilliant, and that's such a great thing about all this sort of stuff, and doing all these shakeout runs and doing all these things that we're doing. We're bringing even more people together, You know, and that's the super cool thing about it, is that we're bringing all these people together all the time. You only got to look at the picture at the start of the Great North Run.
Oh gosh, sorry.
If you weren't at the Great North Run, you see all the pictures, you know, across the rest of the country where people were meeting up, park run and doing all this other stuff, and then they're inspired by what we're doing. It is truly, truly amazing.
And do you know how we know we did a good job? Because Toby didn't tell us we did a bad job.
No, I listen to this. We're definitely going to move on. I got 2 compliments from Toby. I genuinely got 2 compliments from Toby.
You did. I heard.
The only 2. He gave me a real rucking beforehand. He gave me a 27-minute telling off, but he did give me 2 compliments, which I've never had from him, which was brilliant. So there we go. Right, come on, let's move on.
Right, go on then. What do we do between races?
Okay, so like I said, this came up, got there in the end because somebody asked it. So, Wilko, what are you doing after the Great North Run? Firstly.
Well, I might be a bit. This was a bit when I said we were doing sort of like between races. Obviously, that that's a massive help. I've done 2 halves in the last 2 weeks, so that for 4 of the last 300, and for apart from 4 hours in the last 2 weeks, I've been between races because I've not been actually racing. So it's quite difficult to sort of like gauge what I'm doing. But my next one, I've got a 10K next week at the Vitality, and then I've got a couple of halves. But the main thing is, like today, I have signed up for the Leeds Marathon, which will be in May.
Brilliant.
So that is my next big thing.
Okay.
When's Leeds?
Middle of May, 12th, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
A week after I'm on a golf holiday, so that'd be interesting.
So, Abin, you've got how long?
3 weeks, Sunday.
And what are you doing now between that and that Great North Run and that?
Well, I've got my long run tomorrow. So Great North Run for me was a bit of a, where am I at? Can I hold goalish pace for half and still feel all right? And I did, and I was fine. So that was a positive thing. So I've got the dreaded 20 miler this weekend.
Here she is.
Yeah, and then I taper, but it's my birthday next week. So I'm going to Vitality 10K for a bit of fun next weekend. And then it's just, if I'm honest, it's about resting, eating well, hydrating well with loads of water and fluids and electrolytes and all that stuff, and looking after myself. So for me, between races now, it's less about the running, obviously maintaining, but it's about everything else. Sleep's going to be my most important thing, if I'm honest, because I just think getting to race day, because we're going halfway across the world, the jet lag, you just don't know how you're going to feel. So I need to make sure that I'm well rested before I head over stateside.
Oh my gosh.
About you, Gisela, what do you do between races?
What do I do? I'm going to be completely honest. I don't do much from every aspect. I think when I've done most of my races where I've normally been going from like a marathon straight into a half marathon or something like that. So I tend to do pretty much nothing. I stick to normally a much lighter program, because when you think about it, why are we hammering training in between 2 races? It's definitely not necessary. A lot of the work's already been done that you've been working towards. Obviously, given if it's say like a month or so, I really wouldn't do anything. I'd still tick over and do some miles in the week and maybe do a slightly longer run at the weekend, but I would really dim down the amount that I'm doing. I also don't want to have any sort of risk of going off the back end of a big race and then potentially going into another one and getting injured. And it's also kind of just knowing what I want from them as well. So if I have 2 races that are, say, one, look at them both, you want to do them both. Are you going to plan to tackle one as more training focused or tackle one as the hard race that you want to go out and do? It's also about just knowing which ones you want to do first. So definitely having the plan in place as well, knowing what races you're going to do and how you want to tackle them. Because I know obviously you guys have got, well, you're heading off you've got Berlin, and then say, for example, I know some people that are going straight from Berlin to Chicago, and it's like, okay, well, which ones are you can't go out and push your body to these crazy
It all
limits.
depends on the timescale. I mean, in many ways, I consider myself to be in the middle of my between races, because I've now booked Leeds, and the last one I did was the last marathon I did was in Manchester. So like the end of April. So I decided before then that I wasn't going to do an autumn marathon, because I've done 4 in 18 months and I wanted a bit of a break and I wanted to do a few different races and stuff. So I was already thinking before Manchester of what I was going to do in the gap. So after taking stock about what Manchester, I just sat down and I thought, right, what am I going to do? And then I had to look at all my times and all this sort of thing, because like I just got curious where I could be and what I could do. So I sat down and I looked at all my times from the last sort of 4 years, and I thought, right, what was I doing when I was running my best races, when I was doing my best? And all my best times were almost immediately after lockdown. I'd been furloughed, and then events came back. And the 3 months before the events came back, I'd been on a diet, I'd lost weight, and I was running a high volume of mileage and just running. I wasn't doing any sort of PT and things like that, but going to the gym because you couldn't. So it was just getting out 10K a day, doing 240, 250K a month. So I thought, well, let's do that. Let's do that for a bit. Started charting my diary on my food, looking at that. And then I went into, I bumped up my mileage.
Wilko, sorry, I'm going to cut in because you just said something really important. Now, I complimented you on this, and this is why I'm being rude and cutting you in. Tell the viewers, listeners, what you've done in your diet, because Wilko, right, apart from nailing it at the moment, he's done a lot of weight. What have you done in terms of what have you changed or what have you implemented in about, give me a minute summary.
I've just charted my calories on MyFitnessPal. I've done nearly 100 days on that. And, so I'm getting rid of all the empty calories, I've not had a chocolate biscuit for 3 months. I've not had much chocolate, cut down on my alcohol, still drink, because I do like a drink, but drinking a lot more alcohol-free drinks.
You haven't had a chocolate for 3 months?
I haven't had a piece of chocolate. No, I haven't had chocolate. I haven't had a biscuit for 3 months. And I think I've had 2 bits. I've had 2 bits of chocolate in the last week, and I hadn't had any for the last 3 months. And I've done.
That is, you know what? Fair play to you, because that is.
I've done more than a stone and a half.
Yeah, honestly, I said to you, didn't I, on Tuesday? I think Wilko everyone should give him a round of applause because he's worked his rear end off, not just on the running side, but, looking after himself more, which you said yourself you needed to do. But to see the results is incredible. That's why I was interested. That's why I cut in.
I think it is
interesting to.
To hit the ball back in your direction and Sabrina's direction as well. There's been a few things that we've discussed on Tuesday nights that have sort of like the pennies dropped, and I've changed a little bit, sort of like my running technique and things like that, and they've definitely helped me get the results too. I just think the whole, I'm not bragging about what's happened to everything, but I think if you're between races, if you've got a significant, it's no good if you're doing Berlin and you're doing Chicago and you've got 2 weeks. But if you've got a significant gap, it's a great time to sort of like tinker around with things, to have a look at sort of like, what can I do? Should I change my food a bit? Now, I mean, I'm sitting here, it's 7:30 and it's dark. I'm an evening runner. I don't start work till I'm an evening person. So I tend to run after work. So my next big challenge for the next few weeks is getting up in the morning. How am I going to change my habit? I'm going to get to bed at 10 o'clock rather than midnight. And I'm going to be able to get up at 7:30, 8 o'clock and go out and do an hour before work rather than doing it at 6:30 because it's going to be dark. How's that going to change? So just thinking, just being curious and how you can sort of like just tinker with things.
I do think that's.
I always think that sometimes we're all guilty of either we just go on this massive journey of, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to smash this, I'm going to smash that. And then eventually you run out of steam. It's much better to just have a tinker around and see what you can find, what works for you. You do have to give it a bit of, I don't expect instant results when I do these things, so just give something for a few weeks. Oh no, I don't really like that. Or perhaps I'll do this and do that. And eventually you'll find what you like and you'll reap the benefits.
What was you saying, Jatila?
I was just going to say that I've actually taken a lot from that myself, because listening to you talk about what you've managed to do in that period, I personally am one of those people that will go out and run a race, and whether it's a marathon or a half marathon or any sort of race, and if I've got a gap in between that period of time, let's say I had a race in September and I'm not running again until maybe November, December, I take my foot off the gas way too easily and way too quickly, because I feel like I've done a lot of hard work and now I feel like I always deserve to sort of kick back and have that rest. But it's definitely not the case, because those periods in between those races I do feel are so key, because when you get to the point when you're back to training for something, if you've already started focusing on something and you've seen results, or you've managed to change something, you're automatically going into that new plan with a new head, or a different goal, or like a goal that you didn't think would be possible at that time. So I definitely, is something that I want to take away with me going into the new year and towards the end of the year, that I've obviously done Big Half in September just recently, and coming away from that, I don't have anything planned now until potentially, I haven't even considered, maybe something towards the end of the year, or maybe something at the early part of next year. But I haven't got anything in mind. So I've now actually started to ramp up my training going from that, because I've suffered before where I've just left it way too long and think I can just bounce back. It's not the case. So
can I just ask you a question? With sort of like your sprinting background and all that, where it's much more seasonal, so all your stuff comes in, you're running in the summer and then you'll ease down in the winter. Have you found that when you've moved up to be more of a social runner and doing the sort of like marathons and half marathons, have you found that a hard habit to kick?
Massively, because I was in a much more sort of organized routine when I was sprinting. Yeah. So I think when you're coming out of something, and it's a lot of it is it's relying on me. Like I've obviously got my coach that gives me my plan and things like that, but she won't be messaging me saying, oh, why are you not at this session? Or are you coming to this session? Are you doing this? It's you have to do it for yourself. So with training, it was like you would train throughout the winter season, ready to hit the summer. And then you would have a training session 4 days a week. Gym, this, that, the other, you're with your coach constantly. It was a real challenge for me to switch and put it all on me. I had no one else to blame. So if I go out and run crap, that's on me, because I've taken a little bit of a longer break. So I've definitely kind of sort of kicked that in towards the second half of the year, where I think I actually don't know the capabilities that I could do. Do I want to maybe go and could I potentially do a triathlon maybe in those periods when I'm not running? Why would I not go and put myself into an open water swim? Why don't I put myself on a bike? It's all these things you think about. It's not just running. It's just about keeping yourself genuinely like just fit, healthy and active, because come the new year, we're ready to hit things running.
I think, right. And I've just realised we've got about 6 million questions and comments, by the way. So we're going to come on to them in just a second.
Oh, sorry, I've gone on too much. I've not been paying attention. I do apologise.
Yeah, no, Wilko, you're all right. Yeah, we'll knock you back down again after we've built you up. Have a look, Wilko, because there's quite a bit in there. Let's pick them up. We'll come on to them in just a second. But I think actually what you've all spoken about is really interesting. I want to just go back and re-emphasise what Wilko said, though, because I think what we don't do, or we're guilty of, is not taking a step back sometimes and maybe reorganizing, rethinking strategies, looking at stuff a little bit differently. Can I tweak this? Can I do that? Maybe, put in a little bit of, I don't know, swimming in or that, I might try a bit. I might really focus on the bike over the next 3 months, because I don't really need to start a plan for 12 weeks times or whatever. I don't know, whatever it is, but have a look at what you've done, and then how you can maybe do something a bit differently, and looking at your routines, looking at, like, again, what Wilko saying, maybe going out earlier instead of going out darker, and all this sort of stuff is a really good time. And that's what I wanted to focus on with this question, is actually to take a step back, because otherwise what tends to happen, you're like the hamster in a wheel. And this is where this thought process, because I was talking to someone and I was like, I've got Berlin, a bit ruined, so I'll probably just hobble about there. And then I've got New York, and then sort of come back from New York, I've got to go to Texas. And then after that, I sort of start marathon training again. And I was just like, I just thought to myself, I'm like this hamster in this wheel, and it's stupid. So I want you to be like me and be a hero and be awesome and stop and get off the wheel and think about things a bit differently and be like Wilko and stop eating chocolate. I think that's the key. We're just getting out lawsuit from every chocolate maker in the country, in the world, because we're the biggest running podcast in the world globally. Prove otherwise. Right, so Wilko, throw it to the audience. What do we got?
Okay, I'll just ask this one. Right, this is from Thomas Lowe on YouTube. Tom in Ireland, long-time listener. Nice to hear from you, Tom. Thanks, mate. I'm doing my second race ever. First race was a 5K in March. My second race is the Dublin Half Marathon, just 1 week away. Any advice for me?
Admin?
Enjoy it. First half marathon. Just go out there and have fun.
I bet it's hilly in it. Because you've done Dublin Marathon, haven't you, Wilko? That's not flat.
Yeah, there's a few little hills in it. Yeah, I don't know what the course is though, mate. Whether it's the same one. This is the half that Thomas is doing. So
I think
I don't. I mean, what I would anticipate that you'll get a similar sort of crowd reaction to a race like that. And Dublin's such a brilliant place.
I think you've just got to trust your training and then go and enjoy it. There's no point in worrying about it too much.
Don't worry. Try not to worry too much. I think that's try not to worry too much is pretty good life advice anyway. I mean, for any sort of subjects, but definitely if you're lining up for a half marathon. A few sort of observations about the Great North Run. Now, Robert Hallam Sabrina was on the subject of 20 milers. Due to work commitments, I'm struggling to fit my 20-mile long run in before Chicago. This is Robert. What's your opinions on splitting it up and doing a double run day?
I'm not a big fan. I think you benefit a lot from having the time on feet of 3.5 hours. I think that's the optimal solution. I think breaking it up is great. You're still going to get some benefit or quite a bit of benefit from it. But I think it's the mental aspect that you lose of being out there and grinding it out. And again, you don't have to do 20 miles, people. Okay. There's nothing in the rule book that says if you don't do 20 miles, you're not allowed to run this race. Okay. There's nothing in there that says that at all. There's obviously proof from people who do Hanson running that you can split mileage up and things like that. So, but for me personally, I've always seen benefits and from benefits of my clients as well that I coach from getting that time on feet mentally and drilling it out and having to deal with those demons when you're getting to the point of that run, when you're hanging out of your rear end and all you want to do is stop and drink Tenzing. Now, if you break that up, it's not the same, I don't think, in terms of a mental challenge. Physically, yes, it's probably actually harder because if you're doing it and you're splitting it through the day, you'll probably be tired from the one in the morning going out and you're going to get a benefit of running on tired legs. But I just think the mental challenge. But I appreciate that not everybody's got time to go out and do that because of life. So I would look for an optimal time to try and get 3.5 hours on feet. That's, if you can do that, you're winning at life.
That's not a bad stuff, is it? Yeah, and if it's a mental side that you think you might struggle with, then split up your 20 mile. Do 3 miles easy and then 1 mile perhaps a bit quicker or something like that. Just chop it up into the. Sabrina, you've said you're doing a 20 miler tomorrow.
Yeah.
What's your sort of mental approach to that?
Don't run with me.
You don't run with me.
No, you don't run with me.
No. Let's not lie.
No, you don't run with me. We had an argument about this the other week. You don't run with me anymore.
That's not true, but all right. My approach is break it down. So I'm really lucky that we found a kind of route where we can do laps, which for a lot of people would be like awful, but it actually works because the loop is 3 miles. So I'm not worrying about 20 miles. I'm worrying about 3 miles, grab a drink and pick up my next gel that I'm going to need on the next loop. So at no point am I thinking about I've got to run out 10 miles. I've then got to get back. I've got to run 20 miles. It's just one loop in. Okay, fine. Got my drink, had a drink, got my gel, off I go. Again. And for me, mentally, it works because there's a horrible hill in that route. And I just keep thinking about how many times I've got to do that. And once you kind of get 4 times, you're like, I've only got 2 or 3 left. So yeah, for me, breaking it down, don't think about it as 20 miles is the only way that I'm going to get through it tomorrow. It's just small chunks.
I do that. I always lap my watch. I don't know what it is. After every sort of 5K, I'll just lap my watch so it looks like it's a fresh 3 miles.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is in my head. I just look at it and I don't even think about the miles that have passed. I just lap away. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're half marathon training or marathon training. This is a tip for even like whatever. But if any endurance like running that you're training for, it's a great tip to break it down.
I'm looking forward to. I'm going to be. I know the 3 mile. Obviously, I know the 3 mile lap that you do, and there's a couple of sort of like, because Hartford's my hometown. I know my way around. I've got a couple of sort of like 4 mile and 5 mile runs.
Yeah.
I did one of my 20s. I did sort of 5 4 mile laps around the streets of Hartford.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem great, but it has its merits. I definitely wouldn't rule it out. Now, I've got one more from Peter Johnson, if that's okay. We talk about it being in between races, whether half or full marathons, but how do we approach the winter? What about breaking things up and going off road, doing trails? What do you think to mix things up? I think it's a brilliant idea, Peter.
I think it's a brilliant idea. Wait till Tuesday. That'll help. That'll inspire you. So wait till Tuesday. Peter Johnson, I guess you're in the Facebook group, but we'll launch it across all social.
It's a bit of adventure. Going off road and doing bit. And the chances are, if you're doing distance, 10 miles of trail running, it's a better. It's going to be a bigger workout than if you're doing 20 miles on a flat road.
What about you, Gisela? Do you do much trail running?
Well, I suppose I'm quite close to Richmond Park, which is probably as trail as I get, to be honest, with the gravel.
I'll be honest with you. I wouldn't count that as trails. In fact, it's quite
that's literally as trail as I get. But I definitely, in the winter, especially as I ease into the winter anyway, weekends are a little bit different. I'm more open to going to different places because I'm not necessarily going to be focusing too much on all of a specific program or speed or anything like that. I just want to go out and enjoy and get my miles and try a different route. So definitely open to it. I've done a few runs here and there, a couple of miles here and there when I've been on holidays and stuff like that, and experienced a bit of trail or some warm weather training trips where we've had trail. But in the winter, I tend to stick to road personally because I only due to the times that I can get out. I can normally get out in the mornings or in the evenings. And as we know, it's already dark outside. So I tend to stick to places that are obviously well lit. And obviously the parks, like my local park is bushy, it's closed pretty much the times that I need to go in due to the cold season up until November. So it tends to be a bit difficult. But yeah, I just get a little bit nervous, I think.
Just get Hayden to open it. It's his garden. It's his back garden.
Yeah, you think so, don't you?
Literally, he's got the magic key.
It's a bit rude, isn't it? That he won't open his garden up to the people.
Yeah, so he's got the magic key. But yeah, I just feel a little bit more safer tackling the roads. I tend to join a bit more, like go to maybe some tracks and stuff if I want to do stuff in the winter.
That's what I was going to say. I reckon a really cool thing to do in the winter is go to the track if you can get along to one, because one, chances are they've got lights on, right? Mm-hmm. Two, you can rock up in about 80,000 layers, and then you can just like strip off at the side, put them down. Not completely, because admin will tell you off if you're not wearing a shirt, but you can strip off and you can get on it, and then you can wrap yourself up really warm and jump into a warm car. So I would say trails, yes, of a weekend, go out and do what, like Wilko was saying, get out and do those 6-7 miles, whatever you want to do on the trails and mix it up. But then if you can, in the week, look up your local track and see if you can. I know a lot of the running clubs like close them all off, so like not everyone can go on them, which I think is really rude and unhelpful. But there are some tracks out there that you can get onto. So look up one and definitely try and get along to doing something like that. That's a lot of fun, and it will really change things up for you. I think that's a great shout.
That is a good shout. Yeah,
I really like it. What's next?
What is next? Oh, Rod Lambert, he says he's doing Amsterdam next month. You're an Amsterdam veteran yourself, Christopher. Hoping for 3:35. Any advice?
Run it hard.
Amsterdam, I assume.
Run it hard. Go at it from the start. It's flat and it's fast. Run it hard. I'd really go for that because it's a course that you can achieve it. You've got some sections along the canals which are not like buttery, silk smooth tarmac. So be a bit sensible about it. But the crowds are good. Not necessarily in the canal sections, but before and after that. And there's a real nice section when you finish that sort of canal, you head back into main town, where you go into the park, into the main part of town and into the park and all that. That's well lined. So that's sort of 20 miles, 21 miles around. No, yeah, about then. And it starts picking up in terms of the support, and you'll feel that wave really drag you up into the finishing part. So I would run hard. I would get on it, because it's a race to attack is the correct way to describe it. I would say it's not one to sort of build into or anything like that. I'd go for it from the get go. Just watch the tram lines as you when you come out of the stadium, and you go past. You've got that big sign on the left, and you turn left to go down to the park. There's tram lines, so just make sure that you're not running on them, because there was a geezer who went flat over on his face.
Oh,
well, right. So that's right at the start. So he's been training for his marathon. He's come out of the stadium and full.
You're down one of the main roads, and obviously they've got tram lines out there, which is fine. But just be aware that they're there, and don't run over them, because you may trip over. But yeah, get after it, get on it. It's a cracking run, and try not to have a lay down at about 25.5 miles, where I know somebody else tried to do that.
Isn't there a plaque there or something? Where here was Simon.
There's a plaque with a man with his hands above his head, like he's going, I just need a lay down. Still makes. Mind you saying that, that'd probably be me next week at Berlin, and I'll be asking Ben for a lay down. Right.
I just wanted to give a shout out to Dermot Dowling, who's got to. He says sometimes why not run for pure enjoyment of it between races instead of having a goal. He's had some family issues over the last couple of months, and he says just running for enjoyment now, which is helping.
Yeah, I think this is the thing. Yeah, I mean, the shakeout run sort of emphasized what it's all about. You know, that was non-competitive, non-anything. We was just there to get together and go for a run. We did 2.8 miles, but it was probably the most fun 2.8 miles I've ever had. You know, that's what it was all about. It was about fun and enjoyment, and using running to go out and you know, meet other people and do some physical exercise, which we know is good for us and good for our mental health and good for our physical well-being. That's the sort of thing that's just so amazing. So I couldn't agree more on the point, actually, about running. And like I said, I think it was a couple of weeks ago. I mean, I said about, you know, that just taking one run, even one, if you're in a training block.
Yeah.
And you're in a 12-week, 16-week, 20-week, I don't know, whatever block. One of those runs a week, make it your own. Make it your time. Take your earphones out, or maybe put something on that's just for you, you know, and don't worry about your watch, but just make sure that run is for you and it's your time and you're enjoying what you're doing, and you're not focused on, right, I've got to do this at 10-minute miles, and then I've got to go up to 9-minute miles, and you know, all that to it. Forget that. Just go out and run for you once a week and really enjoy it. I think that's the most important thing, because life's too bloody short, people. It really, really is. There's a lot of love going on I'm just seeing hearts and things like this.
Well, yeah, it's to be expected, mate, isn't it? I suppose we've got about 7 minutes left. We ought to talk about you and Berlin next week. How you feeling? What do you reckon?
I'm about a 6 out of 10. I can walk, but it hurts. I have literally tried everything. I've had osteo. I've rested. I've stretched things that I never knew I could stretch. I've got more lotions and potions. I think if they drug tested me at Berlin, I could have a problem. I've got magnesium gel, magnesium oil. I've got this Pure Sport stuff, which is not working, by the way. I'm just going to put that out there. Pure Sport is not working on any of my stuff. So I'm not sure whether that's what's going on there. The osteo, she left me. She got so fed up of me, she went on holiday. That's how annoying I've become. She actually left the country to avoid treating me. That's how bad it's got. I've had cupping. I've had needling. I've had rubber things wrapped around my legs. I've had Monica beat the living what's it out of me on a table, and still my back and the muscles that come around from your back into areas around the front are still hurting, and I can't. So the plan was always Berlin was to sort of cock about a bit and not run a time at all, which is quite handy, really, but the annoying thing is at this point in my training block, I should be about 50 miles per week. Because I've got New York, right? So, and that's not because I'm running a time. It's because New York's bleeding hard because it's a lot of bridges you've got to run over. So I felt like I needed a really higher mileage training block this time to really build a lot of stamina in. Okay. So I was not looking to do a particular amount of speed in this block, but a lot of endurance. So a lot more longer runs, more mileage on feet than I've done previously to build some of that into. And it's gone terribly wrong. So what I have found is that there's a sort of 35 miles per week. My body can deal with that at the moment. So that's why I've been stuck at 35 miles every week. And if I'm doing that, I'm getting through the training block. I will, after Berlin, have a week off of running. I'll probably get into the pool, although that means I have to go to a place where there is a pool, and I don't like anybody in those places. They'll just drive me nuts. I went to the gym the other day, right? I went in there just to inquire, and the people were so rude on reception. They should all be fired immediately. They were just rude. I don't know what it is with people in gyms, why they're so rude. People work there. They're about 16 and they're just genuinely rude. They've got no customer service. What happened to customer service? You walk in, these people are just damn right rude to you, like you shouldn't be there. So as you can tell, I'm not excited about going back to the gym. But I think after Berlin, I'm going to take a week off, do some swimming, and then go back in and see where I'm at. But again, a lot of this is down to Monica leaving the country and leaving me high and dry and not treating me because she simply can't put up with the moaning and swearing that's happening when I'm in pain on that table. Does that help, Wilko?
Yeah, I think, it just paints a picture so everybody knows where you're coming from and what to expect over the next sort of 7 to 10 days.
I think people have missed me posting pictures of my rear end on Instagram as well. Because
I'm not sure they have.
You'll get arrested, mate. We don't want that.
But,
so Steve said, would some light strength and conditioning help? Well, yes, I've tried that. No, I didn't.
Can you, though, tell everyone where you're going to be on the Saturday for the shakeout run?
Yeah, the shakeout run, you need to sign up. We're basically sold out. But sign up anyway, because, again, that thing where people will drop out. Go over to fordyruns.com/shakeout. You can join. We're going to be at the Skechers headquarters in Berlin. And we're going to go for a very light jog through the park up to some pillar thing that's meant to be famous or something. We've got the guys at, what are they called? I always get the name wrong. Hang on. Let me get this right because I want to give them a shout.
Just talk amongst yourselves.
No, I want to get the name right. GoRunningTours.com. If you're in one of the big cities, the chances are they'll do a guided tour. Check them out because they're helping us at the Shakeout Run as well. So, and they're really, really good guys. They helped us at a Brooks event we did in London. So if you're in a big city, check them out. They're everywhere. But yeah, they're helping us out with the route. So that's going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of people coming, and I'm slightly panicking about it. But we'll worry about it on Saturday morning, as always. We just wing it. And then I've got to go to the expo. Got to get my media pass as well. That'd be fun. Go in there, say hello to Mr. Kipchoge. Although they sent a letter out saying that you're not allowed anywhere near the elite athletes. We'll worry about that as well.
How's your German? Got your German?
They're good. Mein Junge.
You're an elite athlete. You'll be fine in there.
Yeah, I'm just going to bowl in there. As always, I'm just going to bowl in there with a GoPro, with a media pass around my neck and wait for them to chuck me out. Because what can they say about it? I'm an accredited or whatever they call media person with the pass. I don't see what they can do. So I'm going to go up, speak to my mate, Kipchoge, a Spurs fan, go and have a chat about Big Ange. And then he's going to go run the marathon. And the other geezer, I can't remember his name. He's probably, what's his face with his 400-pound trainers on. So I might have a chat with him about that. So, look out for me at Berlin. I'm going to be causing absolute chaos and mayhem throughout the whole weekend. What?
So,
Great North Run. Brilliant.
So, Sabrina, you got your 20 miler tomorrow. Just tell you out park running tomorrow?
I'm actually not park running. Because I've actually impressed myself with having a full week of training this week, I'm actually rest day tomorrow, but I'll be back with a 10 miler on Sunday. So it'll be actually nice to have a Saturday where I'm not sort of rushing around and racing out to get to a park run. It'll be quite nice actually to relax a little bit. Yeah.
You can take those dogs out.
I know. It's like I'm basically a dog mum now without the attachments. It's fantastic.
What about you, Wilko?
I'm going to Parkrun tomorrow, and then we've got the latest instalment of the East Hart Sunday social runs. I'm going out with a few people from the Box One group. There's 8 or 9 of us. We're going to do 10 miles on Sunday morning. It's on the events on the Fordy community. So if you're in the area and you'd like to come, Al's coming, which is good news. So if you want to come and have a little trot round East Hertfordshire with us, then you're more than welcome. Thanks ever so much, everybody.
Oh, wait, hold on. I actually am just going to say, I've been stitched up here. I remember last week I was at Bushy and I was speaking to Mel, and she said, I'm going to be at Parkrun this weekend. Why don't you come round with me? And she's just put in the comments, oh, Jatila, I thought you were shuffling around Bushy with me. So, Mel, I'm going to be there.
Yeah, don't let Mel down.
I'll see you in the morning. I'll see you in the morning, hon. I'll be there.
Yeah, make sure she's there. I'll give you her
Yeah,
address.
I'll be there. Wait for me. I'm coming. I'll see you there. 100%. I completely
don't let Mel down.
But yeah, there we go.
Right, take us out, Wilko.
Right, okay. Well, thanks ever so much for joining us, folks. That was great. We had a really good chat. If you can't join us at 7 p.m. on a Friday on Facebook or YouTube, then remember you can download us on your podcast provider of choice, and you can take us out on your long run, train to work, whenever you want to listen to us. We'll always be there for you, so you can just download us whenever you like. Thank you to our sponsors, Skechers. Check out their great shoes and other stuff at Skechers.com. And also our friends at startfitness.co.uk. And make sure you can get your 10% discount using the code Fordy Runs. So we wish you all a wonderful weekend. Enjoy your running, stay safe, and we'll see you all next week.